Starting December 1st, people who file small claims matters equaling $5,000 or less in Hartford, New Britain, and Fairfield can opt in to an online dispute resolution program.
If they opt into the program, if both parties opt into the program, then they will participate in the mediation process to try and settle the case.
Meaning you may be able to resolve a claim without ever stepping foot into a courtroom.
It gives parties a convenience that hasn't been offered previously, and it provides them with a way to resolve the cases quickly. And that's important.
A similar online ticket review program dealing with minor infractions launched in the beginning of the year has been very successful.
22,000 people don't have to go to court, which is wonderful. I mean, it frees up not only prosecutors, but clerks and marshals and everyone in the system. So this is huge, and it actually makes it easier for the public.
The new online program launched this year allows people who receive minor motor vehicle infractions, such as speeding tickets or as a result of a car accident, to request an offer from a prosecutor online in order to resolve their case. Nearly 24,500 people requested offers from prosecutors in 2020. 90% of them accepted those offers.
It reduces the traffic, which is what we need to do now, and it allows that access for people.
The Infractions Division is housed in Rocky Hill. If the pilot program for small claims is successful, they will roll it out throughout the rest of the courts in the state. Taylor Judicial, Fox 61 News.